podcast 74.
74.
I had to look it up because it's been so long since we've done one of these.
Yeah.
We've been so busy the last couple of weeks with a lot of things going on. Big things, as Trump says. Big things.
Bigly.
Huge.
Huge.
I said that on one of my live streams the other day, and someone was like, "Are you a Trump supporter?" I was like, "I don't know. It's just fun to say, you know."
Calm down.
Yeah, just calm down.
Calm down.
But yeah, 74. We've just been so busy the last couple of weeks. We got a lot to talk about today in the sense of kind of future plans too. We do have to go through some of that stuff as well.
If you say, "Come on, man," does that make you a Biden supporter?
Come on, man. Or what? I guess "Let's go, Brandon" is the other choice. Yeah. But yeah, so at the end of this, we should talk about our plans for the future because we got some big things coming up, as I said. But today, we're just going to kind of do like a speed round sort of everything that's gone on pretty much this week.
Okay.
I don't know if we missed, truth be told, we haven't really missed that much in the last 2 weeks. I'm sure there's some Israel stuff that's going on, Israel-Palestine stuff that's going on, but we'll skip over that today. I don't think we had any articles on what's going on overseas. But yeah, so I should we start out hot today, Mother? I'm starting out hot. Ready?
What's
Officially.
Yours?
This was on Fox, so take it with a grain of salt.
Oh, he goes right to the
right
politics,
to Fox.
people.
Today we're going
Don't
to it.
blame me.
Speaking of politics, polls show that Biden has hit an all-time low approval rating of 39%. Right, that's basically what this is. So this is my thing. Now, we knew this was going to happen, and I want your opinion on this one because I saw this morning, and I said, let's take Trump out of the equation for a second, right?
Okay.
With Biden being that low on the polls of a 39% approval rating is terrible. I don't know any other president that had a lower one. I'm trying to think of who had a lower one.
Carter, but I don't know if his was as low as
39%.
Right now.
It's pretty bad.
It's pretty bad, but
39%
Carter might have been in the 20s, but I can't remember.
Now, again, I don't go by CNN or Fox News anymore in the sense of we've talked about this before on the earlier podcasts. When they do these polls, who are they asking? I've never been asked.
Yeah.
But like a 39% approval rating is pretty bad. But let's take Trump out of the equation for a second.
Yes.
And you have to put in someone for the Democrats right now. Who is it? Because I'm going to be honest with you guys. I couldn't name another Democratic candidate right now. I don't think I could. Who's running?
Oh, well, Gavin Newsom is who they keep pushing.
Oh, I don't count him because that's a fat L either way. That guy's. Have you seen what he's done to California?
I know, but they seem to like him. They always try. Well, Kamala Harris is technically supposed to be the next one. The party didn't like her even when she was a candidate in the primaries. They every now and then they throw out Michelle Obama's name, but I don't think she has any desire to go back into that world. Blame her. You always can resurrect Hillary out of somewhere. You know, she's always in the sidelines waiting to get tapped in. And there are some, I'm trying to think of some like no names that they pull from, Whitmer, Michigan's Governor Whitmer.
Oh, okay.
She's one that they tout every now and then because she's got some visibility and she's in a swing state, and it's a blue state.
But it's just kind of, it's weird to me how like, I haven't seen anything on the Democratic candidates, but I've seen clip after clip of the Ramaswamy, Nikki Haley, Chris Christie, all those guys. I've seen clips like crazy. Was there a debate for the?
Well, you have to remember the Democratic candidate's the incumbent. So normally that's what happens. You have to pick a candidate to run against the presumed Democratic and vice versa, right? So if we had a Republican office, you would have. Remember, we had all the primaries.
We're not having any debates. We're not. Have there been any Democratic debates?
No.
Okay, because he can't debate.
He can't.
Yeah, he can't debate.
Can't debate. That's why they don't want to have him in the show. You know, your tip-off is now that you see stuff coming out about Hunter Biden. He was just indicted.
It's tough.
Taxes.
Yeah.
So
109 million in taxes.
Right. Well, you ask yourself why now? Because now the Democrats want Biden and the family out. They want to put somebody else in.
It's getting too dicey.
Right. Yeah. If not, they wouldn't bring charges against Hunter right now.
See, this is. I have to say, I would love to say this to the Democrats' face right now. You went after Trump, which is fine. Sure, do your thing, but you can't expect us not to go after Biden. Like, did you not expect people to do a deep dive on all their stuff? But I mean, this indictment and stuff has been like I said this at the gym to my left friends. you know that every president going forward is going to have to deal with this shit. Like, you're going to get deep dive after impeachment just because of all this. 100%. They're going to go through it every single time from here on out. But that's besides the point. Back to the original question. Who are you going to put in? If you had to put a Democrat in right now, it's not going to be Kamala Harris. There's literally she probably has a lower approval rating than he does.
She did when she was in the primary,
Newsom got destroyed by DeSantis in that, but I can't see DeSantis being president either at this point. I mean, he just doesn't have it.
They're not going to have any more Republican debates.
Yeah.
They've already decided that that's done. Finally, they wasted enough money and time on that already. So whoever winds up polling, which I'm not sure. I think Nikki Haley is probably in the lead out of all of them. Yeah, who knows how long. It's a money game too, right? They're pumping money into her, so she's the flavor of the week. So you see what happens as time goes by. But now they're all jockeying because you're going to start with the primary ones, the North Carolina, the straw polls, and the can't think what they're called, where they have their little, who won this one, who won that one, who won Iowa, who won New Hampshire, blah, blah, blah. The Democrats do it too. And that's when you also see a lot of people start to drop out, when they can't get their numbers. But right now in the Republican Party, all they're shooting for is second best.
Yeah.
It's in case something happens with Trump.
Yeah.
And that's why you see also a lot of push from established Republicans to take Trump out, meaning all this 14th Amendment crap that's going on state by state by state where they want to keep him off the ballot.
Yeah.
And at the same time, with all these court cases, if one of them could throw him into jail for any reason, they don't even care anymore. As you can see with a lot of the evidence, they're not really, and even some of these appeal courts are shooting down these gag orders and whatnot. And if they're leaving them in place, with, like, the recent one they did with Jack Smith, they basically said in there, and I'm paraphrasing, but it's a tough job being a prosecutor. You have to live with it. In other words, you can't be crybaby because the guy is saying comments about you.
Yeah.
So it's pretty sad.
Yeah, well, we talked about the gag order bullshit a couple weeks ago.
Right.
The gag order, I get why you have it, but that's one of those things where you can easily abuse that power based on the rules.
Well, but remember, it's a gag order on a president during an election during a campaign, and we have strict rules against election interference, which is why you hear him throwing out that term. Right. This is election interference. The Hunter Biden laptop, that was election interference. But the irony is, and I'm not doing Trump any favors here, the reason why we had it was because of his attorney general and his pick for the FBI. They suppressed that information during an election year. That's how you wound up with this current president, or one of the reasons why. Many people admitted when they heard about it, Democrats, that they would not have voted for him if they knew about the Hunter Biden laptop. Yeah. So when you say about, putting people in, and there's a lot of manipulation that can and does go on, it's an overdrive now with the current Republican candidate being Trump. Even Democrats are starting to see it, and it's hurting this guy's polling numbers because we live in a country where we do not like two-tier justice systems, and it's become so blatant now that even people who can't stand Trump is saying, this is wrong. You can't do this in an election year. To your point, what's to stop the next person from doing it?
Yeah, but I don't think our next president's going to be a Democrat. That's what I'm saying.
I don't know.
I would be very... that's one of those things where if a Democrat won, you'd have to really start taking the election fraud thing seriously.
There's those of us who say a Democrat shouldn't have won this past one. So it all depends on a lot of things, and a year is a long
that's one
time.
Of those, that's one of those things where it's like, okay, now, even if you're like super anti-election fraud idea, I feel like at this point when you see a president with a 39 approval rating, again, given it is Fox News, maybe like if CNN came out with 39, then I'd go, okay, that's probably true then. But if Biden won again, then you have to kind of be like, hold on.
I think, a couple
Even
things.
If you're pro-Biden, you got to be like, hold on.
A couple things. This is the world we live in now, which I never thought I'd see this, but I'm not so sure this president will physically make it.
Oh, yeah, another 4? No shit. No,
to the election.
Yeah.
I don't know if he'll make it through the summer. That's how bad he's looking these days. And I'm not saying it from me. I mean, they're actually, and that's an interesting picture because there's some people now saying, what's going on with his right eye? Yeah. And that's in recent newscasts. So he's getting even worse. Like, did he have a stroke or something? The fact that you have to question these things, and he is elderly, but he has a dementia shuffle.
Yeah, okay? I think he's more likely to completely become demented, right? Before he I don't think he's going to die. In
Why
a year,
not?
but I
He's
think-
in his 80s. He's very elderly, and he's showing. I mean,
Well, I've seen 80-year-olds in worse shape than him.
yeah, that's true. But there's a lot of pressure, let alone the stuff that he has hoisted on himself, if
Yeah.
he's aware of it. But my other side to the equation was we're actually living in times where legitimate journalists are asking the question, I hope the Republican candidate isn't assassinated. This is the world we're living in.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So when I hear,
but then again, we're at this world now, which is also not what's the word? It shouldn't be this way. Is probably the right word. But what people do to get clicks nowadays for their journal articles and stuff, I don't know how true those are. Like you can put assassinated on the top of anything.
No. The reason why I take it seriously because we were at a point where, no one would ever bring charges against a president who's running or a person running for office, and here we are. No one would ever put a gag order on a election, somebody who's running for election, and here we are. Nobody would ever hide evidence against the sitting president like that
Right.
laptop from hell, and here we are. And they can't. Every time there's a woman on, I call it one of her things, Cat Tap is her name, I think. She's on Gutfeld. I don't usually watch it, but she had a good point. She goes, only the Democrats can make somebody like Donald Trump, with all his wealth, his beautiful wife, his successful family, blah, 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 a martyr. That you feel sorry for him as a victim. And that's what his ratings show. He was like, for those of us who knew him before he went into politics, he was a giant ego guy, the boaster who had this business celebrity kind of person. But yet, here we are, where they've taken one individual who, for whatever reason, they have decided, they being our government, are working against him. So to say, he really needs to be very careful, more so than I've ever felt for any other candidate, because of the level of derangement I've seen and the depths we've seen them go through the Democratic Party to suppress evidence.
Yeah,
and
I mean, I think the real eye opener to me was when Trump did it wasn't an inaugurational speech. It was some dinner thing that they do, some presidential dinner. And he's talking about how, like, literally, but when he was a Democrat, all these people behind him wanted him to run. And then all of a sudden he runs as a Republican and they hate his guts.
Yeah.
Right? So, and he calls him out on stage. That's the one thing, like, even if you don't like Trump,
yeah,
he'll at least tell you, like, he'll say something to your face where most people
he's a
wouldn't
straight
have
shooter. He's a straight
that's the
shooter,
word, yeah.
and he's always
Which
been
is
that
what
way.
you want in a president, honestly.
You do, but not in a politician, and that's why they have a problem. And it's fine to be a straight shooter, but not when you're straight shooting on things that let's say the establishment, for lack of a better word, the establishment government uniparty, we like to use that term, they don't want you touching those things.
Well, the last real straight shooter was Kennedy, right? When he talked about how the government's lying to you on a lot
Robert
of
Kennedy? You mean the recent candidate? Yeah, I think you meant John F. Kennedy. Yeah, okay. Yeah, Robert Kennedy, yes.
No, JFK. JFK, when he got assassinated?
Oh.
Yeah, have you ever seen all the stuff he said about how, like, the government's kind of screwing you in the Cuban Missile Crisis?
Right, he was seeing things early on to some extent, and was involved with things with the CIA or watching the CIA, and his brother,
and he realized that they were doing something wrong,
Right.
So,
and ironically, his son was a very good friend of Donald Trump's.
Yeah.
And was a Democrat, obviously, and was a potential candidate. He probably would have been president at some point had he lived. He even said, my friend Donald Trump would make an excellent president. He should be a president someday. That's when he was a Democrat.
Yeah.
Right?
And not then it just changed over, yeah.
Well, I mean, I can't say that maybe John Kennedy Jr. would have been his own man and said he still feels that way. I don't know. We'll never know, right? But it's very interesting, to your point. All these people were friends, went to each other's weddings, wanted each other's money,
there's
donations.
There's clips of Hillary going to Ivanka's wedding.
Right.
So it just kind of goes to show you that all this is, like, when people say that they know how politics work when they're not really politicians, like a lot of these YouTubers, it's like you have no clue.
But the difference this time is, it's not just the Democrats that hate or the opposing party that can't stand him. You got people in his own party actively, and now blatantly, they don't even hide it, working against him, calling him every name in the book.
Chris
and
Christie.
Part of my segue pass into one of the other articles, I just threw in the one with the gender. So right now their whole thing is for Donald Trump, since they can't beat him, if you listen to the media, everything is he's going to be a dictator. He even said he was going to be a dictator. On day one, he's going to be a dictator. So Liz Cheney's coming out. You've got every media person saying, if Trump gets elected, our democracy's gone. reelected. We're going to lose democracy. And he's going to be a dictator. He's going to tell everybody what to do. So I'm laughing because Gavin Newsom in California this past week just passed a ruling, which maybe some people are aware of, but I would just, this goes back to that, you got to be critical thinkers, right? Regardless of what party you believe in.
California retailers that refuse to have gender-neutral toys for children will be fined up to $500 under new ultra-woke Gavin Newsom law after uproar over LGBT toys. They forgot the Q. How dare they? Toys sold during Pride Week.
Okay. So you tell me what's the definition of a dictator. Is this your potential presidential candidate for the Democratic Party who is passing a law saying he's going to fine a store if they don't carry a certain toy or type of toy?
Yeah.
This is America. We don't do that here.
Yeah,
right?
You're allowed to sell whatever you want.
That's right. And, you know, I'll make a side comment on my own because on this podcast I've made comments about TikTok, right? And I think TikTok is whatever, blah, blah, blah. But I will say this. I don't want it banned because I'm tired of living in this country where we're arguing over what should and should not be banned. Right. This is a free speech nation. Everybody should have free speech. You can't sit there and say you got to kill people. I agree, right? But meaning protesters and whatnot. You can be
like hate speech. That's obvious hate speech.
When you start doing stuff like this, and then you turn around and say, but the guy he might be running against is the dictator. I go back to critical thinking, people. You tell me what's a dictator move if you're going to demand that people sell certain toys. We live in a country where let the market dictate it. So that tells me, because stores aren't stupid, they want to make money. They're not pushing these toys, or they wouldn't have to be told they have to sell it. I don't see these companies being biased. I mean, maybe there's an occasional Christian store or whatever. They refuse to. But 85% of stores out there, you don't need to do this law.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you should be allowed to sell what you want. You shouldn't have to be told what you can and can't sell.
Right.
But I think of like, we have sex shops.
Yeah.
Right? All over the country.
Yep.
I don't know if you guys have ever been in one of those. And I was forced to in college for one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the stuff in there should not, like, even for me, I'm like, that should not be sold.
Well,
you know?
But it's in America for adults. I'll draw that distinction.
Yeah.
Kids shouldn't be in there.
Yeah, I agree.
For adults.
But I don't know if there's actually an age limit in those shops.
There used to be with video stores and whatnot.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to go in there, but we're living in an age where anything goes, and that's a shame.
Well, kids can, in some states, kids can go to bars, like as long as you're accompanied by a parent. Can you imagine that one kid with the alcoholic dad that realizes he has to bring his son, just leaves him at the bar? Yeah. That happens more times than you think.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
We go back to that question of, is it a good thing? But that's a side issue. I mean, we could go all day on that one. No. I just say, I'm just trying to draw this comparison as you're going to hear more and more about how the one candidate is a total dictator.
Yeah.
Again, critical thinking. Don't look at parties. Don't look at what you believe in. Just look at facts.
What's your definition of a dictator?
Right. Yeah. What's your definition? And don't look at, well, it's got to be okay if it's a Democrat who says it, but it's bad for Republicans.
I think Gavin Newsom is such a, you know what? That guy's done more damage to California, and then you're like, oh, cool, become president, please.
Yeah.
Like,
well, I don't
know a single person in California that actually likes that guy.
Yeah, I don't know. It's funny, you know, something shady must have gone on with that recall when they tried to recall him.
We just forgot about that.
And he was losing, and all of a sudden he won. I mean, that goes back to the whole election thing, but okay, fine.
That's what happens when your mother-in-law or your aunt is Nancy Pelosi.
Well, I don't even think you need that. They just happen to like him in general, and for whatever reason, kept him in place. And, you know, he showed his true colors, and he wasn't that impressive of one of our, sad to say, weakest candidates.
I just love, this is my favorite story about Gavin Newsom. And you could fact check me if you don't believe this. Gavin Newsom, during like a hot streak during COVID in California, he said, you're not allowed to use any water. Yeah. You can't use any water. Then they find out that he was using the city's water to water his vineyard, putting all the other vineyards out of business, and now his is like the most profitable. He completely screwed the people so that he can get money from this vineyard.
But this was going on with all of them.
You think Trump's bad? Like,
well, exactly. Come on. That's why I'm saying we're living in we're living in a time where they don't even hide it anymore. Yeah. They don't even care anymore. So it is not hyperbole to say these candidates Trump specifically, they need to be really careful. And I'm sure he has his own security service. So when I see him go to these big venues, I don't want to see anybody get assassinated. I don't think, I mean, if our country's at that point, we're still a banana republic, like down south where people get beaten up and killed before the election, right?
Yeah,
or the Japanese
we're
prime minister.
We're in a scary place.
Right. But having said that, you know, I don't think it's hyperbole anymore. This is the world we're living in. If we don't rein it in, when you have, you know, people actually believing, oh, it must be true. One's a dictator and the other one isn't. You know, you got to use your head when you're in these pivotal times. You got to use your head.
There's too many uneducated people that don't use their heads, and those are the people that they prey on, right?
Well, I mean, yes, and as we're seeing, you know, all of this comes together when we talk about like the universities and education and how bad it is and teachers unions. It's not a It's by design,
okay, well,
people.
Let me tell you what annoys me the most. This is the one that really annoys me. Now, I told you guys, I have a friend who, he and I debate every time I see him. Like, fun debates. We'll do cardio together. He knows what he's talking about. He's not a Trump fan. He tells me why I understand, right? My other friend, and I won't say who, I always bring it up because she'll walk by while we're talking, and she goes, yeah, I want Trump in jail. And then you go, hey, do you know why he's even under arrest? She goes, no, I don't know, but I want him in jail. It's like, okay, so you don't know what's going on.
Right.
You don't know what the point of this is. You're not thinking ahead, and you want him in jail just because you don't like him. I understand if you have reasons to not like Trump. Like,
there's plenty of reasons not to like him.
My friend John, he's not into his policies. Fine. He can name all the policies. He's someone very well versed. And then my other friend comes up and she goes, oh, I just don't like him, so throw him in jail. It's like, okay, this makes me realize that not everyone should be allowed to vote. I will stand by that all the time. I'm not even kidding. Like, if you're not educated, like a long time ago during the first election between Biden and Trump, I had a friend who didn't even know who Kamala Harris was, right? Or the background or anything. And she's like, oh, I'm voting for Biden. I'm like, well, you know that if he dies, Kamala Harris becomes president. And at the point, like we were at that point where that was like a real possibility. Yep. And she's like, oh, I don't know her. And this was when everything just came out about what she did when she was in the when she was just putting all those people in jail. I don't remember the whole story.
Oh yeah, the marijuana.
So it's like, for marijuana charges. It's like, so you're voting based on whether you don't like someone or not. You're not voting on policy. You're not voting based on does this benefit you in any way, shape, or form as a U.S. citizen. It's just, oh, I don't like that guy. He should be in jail because I don't like him.
But you have to understand the whole Democratic platform, with the help of some established Republicans, is we might win just by people who don't want to vote for Trump.
Right, exactly.
They don't care about Biden. They don't like his policies. They don't like the direction of the country, the whole nine yards.
They purposely prey on the uneducated.
Which is another reason why everybody worries when you have a third-party candidate, a fourth-party candidate
come in. But then you look at...
because people will vote for them, just because it's not either of the two.
Right.
It's your right to do that in a democracy, but you got to ask yourself, where you go with this? Because you're going to wind up with one or the other.
Well, the one that's always crazy to me is the whole, like, Democrats also say, like, oh, the Republicans don't want illegal immigrants, right? They're such bad people. And then you ask anyone who has immigrated here, who can't even vote, they hate the illegal immigrants.
Yeah.
With a passion more than we do, you know? Like, by we, I mean, like, the American people, I guess, on the Republican side. But... yeah, even they're like of all the people to go by for that, you should probably ask the immigrants that came here, went through the whole system. There's reasons for that with the jobs and blah, blah, blah. But that's just baffling to me how a lot of times people vote based on whether you don't like someone rather than actually educating yourself because it's the easy way out.
Right.
So
you're always going to have, and it gets worse with each generation because they do less in high school and grammar school by design in educating children in civics, how our country works and why it is better than other countries. You have to do that. China does it and explains to the people why communism is better than democracy. Or they don't even tell them about democracy, but countries do that.
Yeah, but if
we believe in democracy being the better system, you need to educate your citizens because no matter what they do in life, they need to know that. Right. You don't have to be in politics to have to know how your country works.
My other problem, though, is the people who are Democrat but don't know why they're Democrat. And when
you have plenty of Republicans who feel the same way.
Yeah, but you pry on... you have those Trump supporters that only support Trump because they like him.
But remember, politics is similar to the religion. You tend to fall under the umbrella of the house that you're born into. That doesn't mean you stay in that particular party. So as you grow up, and the real test is... before this whole debacle with education system. You always had the rebelling teenagers who had to be the opposite of their parents, regardless of what it was.
The Woodstock years.
Then they go on to college,
60s.
which now the college has become the rebellious years, which, okay, that's fine. But then you get out in the real world and you get a paycheck and you got to buy a house and you got to get health care. Not to say, and that drives you to one party versus the other. And that's where existing incumbent presidents and parties move the dynamic of where our country should go.
Yeah.
So, like, for instance, socialized medicine. Okay, people don't want it. We've never wanted it. We see what a debacle it is. However, you make it harder for people and more expensive. And then you make people decide, oh, you know what? I want socialized medicine. Because you've given them no other option. You back them into that. Right. Yeah. Which is why I say a lot of
But then you have the other way around, which is, I think, the most egregious one is the Planned Parenthood and the abortion clinics, right? They don't give a shit if you go for an abortion or not, because the Republicans make money off the Planned Parenthood, and then the Democrats make money off the abortion clinics because it's government funded for the most part.
The Democrats
actually so much money.
It's actually the Democrats who are funded by Planned Parenthood.
Both. Okay. So which is the opposite of
most
that?
Republicans don't.
Which is the one that they make a lot of money off? One of those. I forget which one it is. They did a whole thing on
unless they support, unless they're pro-abortion candidates, which usually Republicans
are kind of down the middle. But no, there's one that's like
the traditional. See, each party has a platform, meaning this is what our representatives are supposed to support.
Right.
Right. Doesn't mean they have to 100%, but you have a platform. Republicans have a platform. Democrats.
Yeah.
Republicans traditionally were pro-life, pro-small government.
Yeah.
No taxation or low taxation.
Well, I think you're going off the rails of what I was saying, though. So
no, but my point is, based on that platform, that's why Planned Parenthood isn't going to support Republicans,
right?
Unless you have a rogue one
that's maybe I'm wrong on the organization, but there's one moment where with the Planned Parenthood, Democrats make a crap ton of money for candidates based on that. So they don't care if you have an abortion or not, or Planned Parenthood or not.
Right?
They get money either way. What's the Republican one? I know that there's a Republican one because they do the same thing.
Well, there's many pro-life groups that support it.
Okay,
but the pro-life groups do not get money from the federal government. The Planned Parenthood does. That's what a lot of people have an issue with. Planned Parenthood gets money, but according to our laws, they are not to use any government funding for abortions. They can only use it for healthcare purposes.
Gotcha.
Right?
Okay, I guess I'm wrong then. So I'll retract what I said just because I'm not 100% sure. But
well, I mean, that particular group I know is Democratic.
Either way, they make a lot of money on that.
Sure.
They're only in it for the money. For their Yeah. So.
Oh, I mean, let's be fair. Some candidates do believe that. Yeah. That's their belief, that women's rights are more important than life, child, blah, 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 blah. Just like there are many Republicans who believe the opposite. Mm-hmm. But yes, majority of them, they get money from these groups, so they have to toe the line. And they either say nothing to get money, or they'll actively support their causes and get more money.
Yeah. Well, speaking of the college stuff that we were just talking about, let's just throw this one in. Arizona. There it is. There we go. Mm-hmm. The endowment rules. So we've been talking about this. Arizona Republican introducing legislation to tax college endowments. Enough is enough. So this is kind of a twofold one. Because this week in the news, well, technically last week, was when they went after all the big Ivy League school presidents and basically kind of opened up the floodgates for these Ivy League schools and how crazy they are behind the scenes, like in the sense of the antisemitism, the racism, the stereotyping, that kind of stuff. It's making these Ivy League schools look real bad. So this is, I mean, you could tell us about this one, Mom, but I didn't get to read this one.
Well, it's an Arizona representative. He's proposed this bill that he wants. Right? Yes.
Yeah.
Eli Crane. He wants to start taxing these endowments. He makes the distinction, only endowments over $5 billion as a start. Now, I don't agree with that. I think if you're going to do it for one, you should do it for all. But I get where he's coming from. These universities, let's talk about that. Over $5 billion as an endowment, tax-free money. Okay? Mm-hmm. Now, just as an aside, if you're at a religious organization, like a church, for instance, Catholic Church, the rabbis, whatever, you are not allowed to support a candidate actively, openly, from the pulpit.
Well, that's because of separation of church and state, right?
But you get there's tax implications. Mm-hmm. So in order to maintain your tax-exempt status, you cannot take a side, if you will, in a political thing. So these universities have been walking a very fine line on that in terms of supporting certain policies and supporting maybe not candidates necessarily, but, anti-Joe Biden because he won't support Hamas and protesters out there about it. That's taking an opinion. Just like if a priest stood up there and said, I'm anti-Joe Biden because he doesn't support abortion. They're not supposed to do that. You can't do that or you lose your tax exemption. So here are these universities to the tune of...
You just said Joe Biden doesn't support abortion.
I'm saying if a priest stands up there and says he's pro-abortion, so do not vote for Joe Biden, he's not allowed to do that. A priest is not allowed to do that because you could lose your tax exempt status.
I feel like, are you saying that wrong though?
If a priest gets up in a pulpit and says, do not vote for Joe Biden because he supports abortion.
Okay, you were reversing that.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah, that's how
that was my point.
Confused.
So, okay, or
Go
either
ahead.
way, no matter what they say, if you attach it to a candidate, you're putting your tax exemption in jeopardy, and they're not supposed to do that, okay? Mm-hmm. So a lot of these universities are doing just that. They're supporting causes, maybe not, well, we know they're mostly. I think the stats for Harvard was like 1.82% of the faculty are libertarians, and the rest are all Democrats.
Wow.
Okay? So that's the makeup. So what would you expect? So yes, we all know it's about time. Your podcast listeners have heard you and me talk about this for how long now? If you really want to make a change, start taxing these.
Yeah, you have to.
Right.
Yeah.
When we're talking about student loans forgiveness, let's think about that. How many student loans are we now going to pay for Harvard students because of this executive order from Joe Biden, when this university could have funded it 10 times over just with their interest from their endowment?
That $5 billion endowment is enough to pay for multiple generations of kids.
That's right.
To go to that school. But we pay for it with our tax dollars.
So let's think about it. We pay for the people they pick into their university based on what turns out to be discriminatory DEI stuff that's now we're seeing as part of this. This is outrageous.
Like people always, I don't want to say joke about it, but no, we didn't really have like the proof of it, really, statistics. Mm-hmm. And then this week when they really opened up those floodgates, I mean, you realize like, hey, these freaking organizations are straight up just racist.
No, you know who realized it? All the Jewish members of these universities, the donors, the faculty, the people that encouraged this DEI. Let's bring in more Muslim students. Let's bring in more Indian students. Let's bring in more of a particular type of student, free-thinking student. And now the backlash has been incredible. And thankfully, it's a harsh thing, but thankfully, all these individuals, and not just Jewish people, are taking a stand, and more are now coming out and saying this has been going on for a long time, and faculty has not been able to say anything because they'll lose their jobs. Well, now the faculty's coming out. It's a change of opinion. But now you look at these endowments, and I hope this gains traction because to me it's outrageous. The money that these, and may I say, and somebody else brought this up recently, Yale, Princeton, I think Columbia, but I'm not sure, Harvard. These were Christian schools, started as Christian organizations, and the various Christian groups gave it up to the secular world because they wanted to expand education in this nation. Having said that, look at where we're at. I mean, talk about the changing of the intention of these universities and driving them into the ground, and they get away with it because they sit on $5 billion of dollars never taxed.
What do they put it towards? They don't even have good sports teams.
Again, you could go to Harvard for free because they have an endowment.
Like Cardi B did. Cardi B has hers. Or maybe she went to Princeton.
I'm saying any student, they could fund the entire 4-year classes just on the interest from their endowment.
Yeah, absolutely.
You would never have to get a loan.
Yeah. So and that's one person's endowment.
Right, and we're really getting to the point of there's literally no skin in the game for these universities. They just churn these students out. It doesn't cost them anything.
No. Except for salaries, that's really it. But anyway.
No. Your salaries get paid for by the tuition they collect, which is funded by you and me when we pay these loans. These kids don't pay the loans back.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. What do you do where do the endowments go?
They just live off the interest and it becomes a profit. But someone needs to start looking at these, and I'm glad this was presented.
Well, worst comes to worst, just start an OnlyFans, but don't. What is this? Wait, hold on. Worse than Pornhub and OnlyFans. New Mexico AG sues Meta Platforms and Mark Zuckerberg following undercover operation involving minors?
Yes. Facebook Meta's got some real problems, let me tell you. I don't know how he's getting out of this one. A.G. Torres, who's a Democratic Attorney General, not that that matters, of New Mexico, he is suing Meta. They've had undercover people going online, and the garbage that's coming out. And it turns out, the Florida Attorney General was going through the same process. Claims not a safe space for children, but rather where they get exploited online. This article addresses what was discovered when they did undercover agents, going online to the various platforms. The Attorney General claims Meta and Zuckerberg are well aware of what is going on. So it's not one of these, we had no idea. Yeah. Well, if you read the article, they tell you how. They put revenue over policing themselves. Okay, the Florida Attorney General, they wanted Zuckerberg to testify before the state's Human Trafficking Council because the Meta platforms is the most used platform by human traffickers.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Okay. As you read the article, it's kind of damning. And the statistics are in there. I didn't put the statistics down because I figured it was kind of boring for people of how much. Okay, so according to a letter from Moody, 271 reported instances of sodomy and human trafficking, 156 or over 53% were linked to one of the Meta platforms. Facebook, WhatsApp. And towards the top there, if you look at it, these were the things that were uncovered in the course of the investigation. A list of basically, I want, for lack of a better term, but forcing kids to go onto websites that they didn't have an interest in at all.
Yeah, but my question is, what's the correlation between just crappy people using Facebook and kids?
Well, they know that there's if you go ahead, scroll down, go to the top.
Go down.
I'm sorry, go up. Go to the list, keep going. Okay, so up here. During the past several months, turns out they launched an undercover operation posing as minors under 14 on their platforms, proactively served and directed the underage users a stream of egregious sexual exploitation even when the child had no interest, enabled dozens of adults to find, contact, and press children into providing sexually explicit pictures, recommend children join unmoderated Facebook groups, allowed Facebook users to find, share, and sell it, allow a fictitious mother to offer her 13-year-old daughter for sale. So this is part of the process of what these agents do.
Do you see what I'm saying, though? What makes you think that Meta is pro doing this rather than just their algorithms aren't set up to defend against that stuff?
Despite repeated assurances to Congress and the public that they can be trusted to police themselves, it's clear that Meta's executives continue to prioritize engagement and ad revenue over the safety of the most vulnerable. So in the course of this investigation, and I'm sure we're going to find out more when they get his ass in front of a judge or whatever, we'll find out more about why is it that you think, because that would be their defense. It's not our problem that these sites exist. But he has made a point of going before Congress, before Florida when he was there, and made a point of saying, oh no, we're very careful. We police these things. We make sure it doesn't happen. Well, guess what? It's happening 53% of the time just on Facebook platforms, Meta platforms. So it's an issue.
Right, here's my other argument, though. Those people that the government that did the undercover sting operation, right? They were actively looking to get him to find this, right? So your algorithms are gonna push you towards what you're looking for. So if you're trying to do a sting operation and you're trying to prove, I can get sex trafficked on Facebook, I mean, I doubt it's that hard to do if you're physically looking to get sex trafficked as a
right. But
account.
If you're posing, and even when the child has expressed no interest in this content, so they're posing, they're going in. To your point, say an algorithm comes up.
Yeah.
Kid doesn't want the algorithm. They try and get out of it. However, whatever method they're using, we're not going into detail. It's pushed on the child until the child in quotes, until the child goes in and actuates whatever it is they're sending to them.
I don't know how you can reset your algorithm. Every now and then they'll do it. Every couple of years, the internet itself will wipe all your, I believe they're called cookies and caches and stuff. And then but if you're someone new, and let's just say you click on something that's semi-suggestive, like SpongeBob in underwear, from a clip that was actually in the cartoon, it's not impossible to get to from there to genuine porn.
Oh, sure.
I don't think it's that hard.
No.
So that's why I don't think these algorithms are necessarily pushing anything. I think that's just if you just click the wrong spot once, you could be on a spot you could land in a spot you don't want to be in. Algorithms are very manipulative.
Well, let me ask you
I don't know if it's on
Investigators were startled to find that Facebook and Instagram were ridden with child exploitive content at rates surpassing even that an adult platforms like
I do agree.
OnlyFans.
This is what I mean. So for me, when I go on Instagram Reels, which I've been using a lot more because sometimes there's some funny ass shit on there, but you'll be watching funny stuff and then all of a sudden you get a shooting where a guy just was murdered in front of you.
Yeah.
Right? Like that can't be on Instagram. Like that should never be on Facebook or Instagram. But I don't know if that's a matter of such an influx in added videos and clips, especially now with shorts where you can post a 1 minute short in a second.
Yeah.
Think of how many shorts they probably get in a day.
Yeah.
It's very hard to manage that with with an algorithm. Like you can't, if 100 million are posted a day, which is probably not super unlikely. Yeah, you're going to have some that get through the no, what's the word? The siphoning, I guess you can say. Or what's it called when they do that thing with gold?
Filtering
sure. The easy word.
Sieving.
But so things are going to pass through the system, no question about it. And when
I have
here, hold on, we severe, especially your generation, no offense, you guys severely underestimate how many videos are uploaded every day.
Yeah, no,
like
I
severely underestimate. So of course you're going to have an influx in like things that get passed, like those shooting videos I was telling you about.
Well, I have 2 comments about that. My first comment is, and you know my limited exposure to doing the social media stuff, so whatever.
That's my job for the
My
podcast.
first comment is, I think you're putting a whole lot of faith in these algorithms, and deep down inside, you think algorithms drive everything. I'm going to tell you, and it's not based on knowledge, it's based on life experience. I think there's more going on than algorithms. I think there is what we call a thumb on the scale, where no, not everything's being done by algorithms. And I do believe where there's a money involved, Facebook, Meta, other social media platforms can move things in a way to the benefit of generating that revenue.
Yeah.
That's number one.
I think you're right. Well, I mean, my argument is, yes, algorithms do run everything because everything's based on an algorithm.
I don't think that's true.
I think you do think that's true, but you're just saying that the algorithm can be tipped, which I do agree with.
There is something other than just algorithms that.
I mean, there's certain. You have tags which contribute to the algorithm, but to your point, like that's one of those things that we'll never really know. Like, I think Google's probably the most egregious when it comes to manipulating their algorithm. But here's why I do agree with you. Ever since probably like 2 years ago, I
think you just made the point. You're able to manipulate an algorithm. That's the thumb on the scale. It is not random. It is not just based on, but you have to go in, and once the agent starts blah, 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 blah. I understand why you think that, and that's how it should be. I don't think that's how it realistically is.
Well, the way I know that you're right is same with YouTube. YouTube did this a couple years ago too, but now every time you post something, there's a, hey, you can pay to get higher up in the algorithm, kind of like paid promotions. It's like, oh, so now how much of this has become pay to win?
Right.
You know? So every time I post a YouTube video, it's, hey, you can promote this for X amount of dollars a month. And it's like some of these great YouTubers that apparently just blew up randomly. Did they, or did they actually put money into promoting and they're just not telling you?
Right.
So one thing I will give TikTok is when you do promote something, it actually says this was a paid promotion. So you get outed no matter what. So not saying that doesn't affect the algorithm, but it at least there's a little transparency between this is promoted or not. Because let's take my approach real fast. All algorithms are random with the paid promotion. If I'm someone that wants to promote a sex trafficking website, $100, boom, knowing you'll make more. Yeah. So maybe, to your point, like Facebook should know, hey, this is what this website's for if you're paying. Right, because they have to physically promote it,
and I think that's the point of these attorney generals. That Facebook, it's you can't have it both ways. These social media platforms, you can't sit there and say we're a free speech platform and we can't be responsible.
Well, it's a great line.
And the algorithms do everything and blah 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 blah. Yeah. But then turn around and say, as he did, oh no, we make sure that kids don't get onto certain sites. We make sure that certain things don't happen. Well, if you're going to boast that you're able to make sure of certain things, okay, then that tells me you think you can control things on social media. So either you're full of crap and you can't, and you're just letting the algorithms do it, And by the way, kids should not be on social media then if you can't control it.
We're definitely at the point.
To do it.
We're definitely at the point where I would say you should not be on social media until you are at least 18. Or, well, 16 is probably the more realistic age. But there's no real benefits anymore for social media besides like Facebook. I mean, no one uses anymore. The only reason they use is for Meta.
Instagram, all that stuff.
Yeah, Meta's all that stuff. Instagram, I would say, is kind of dying.
Instagram's the worst.
Yeah.
For the traffic.
100%. That makes complete sense.
Yeah.
But Instagram is definitely unusable now, I would say. Like anyone who's like still successful on Instagram is because they were successful beforehand. Like I don't think anyone's really becoming Instagram famous now, unless you're some model, which is probably some fake account anyway. So truth be told, I think going down like the OnlyFans route is because you don't have to do porn on OnlyFans. Or adult content, I should say. Like, there's people that have OnlyFans that are just for their companies. So I think that's the better way of doing things now. I think OnlyFans is actually like a legitimate, like, better Instagram at this point.
Well, I think we live. It's unfortunate.
So, guys, big announcement.
I'm not here to tell people like we just said. I don't want to censor things. That's not
agreed.
America. But it is a parent's responsibility to monitor what their kids are and aren't doing, which has been made virtually impossible, believe it or not, by our education system because kids are always on the internet to do work and whatnot. And unless you put parental controls up the yin yang. But meanwhile, who would think I got to put a parental control on Instagram,
There's a lot
Facebook,
of
and everything
fake
else
things on there. Like I've had Facebook since I was in high school, right? I've never had like some sex trafficking thing come up, So that's what I mean. I want to see how they're getting to these because I don't know how you would do it.
But Chris,
it's just all shitty.
It's a different world now from when you're in high school. Think of the
but I still go on it from time to time.
No, I know, but when you started, this was in its infancy to some extent, right? And they were just realizing what they were able to do for better, for worse with this stuff. And now it keeps growing. And as you see, the popularity changes. Human beings, what they are. We're bored with Instagram. We move on to the next thing. We're bored with WhatsApp. We move on to the next thing. We go to TikTok. We're bored. We move on. The American mind only has a certain amount of attention span. You know what I would say is actually probably worse? I think Snapchat's actually worse because Snapchat has the ability to just add random people. Like Matt Sprague was telling me, like some of the girls he meets, because he's still in the dating pool, I guess. Like he'll just randomly add people on Snapchat and you recommend it. It's like, hey, how do you know these people are of age? Yeah,
you know what I mean.
You don't.
So you gotta be careful with that.
And you know if they're men, even though they're women's pictures.
Yeah.
You don't know if they're psychos.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, man, you gotta be real careful with that. Sorry, Matt Sprague for.
Well, just as an aside, a few years ago, young girl over in the Middle East has her picture taken.
Oh
in the
God,
market.
is this gonna be really depressing? Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah,
okay.
but it was and somebody posted her face on Facebook, right?
Yeah.
As though she put it on there. She didn't. She was just shopping in the market.
Yeah.
Happened to be living with an aunt, blah, blah, blah. Person shows up. We're going to give her an education. She's gone. Sex trafficking. Ugh. All because somebody posted on Facebook. Is that Zuckerberg's fault? Not necessarily, but
also,
where is that allowed? Can anybody just post your picture? And she didn't know it. She's in the Middle East.
Well, think of, here's another one that baffles me. And we've talked about this, especially, I think we talked about it with the Paul stuff, but people forget that there's a law. You're not allowed to record people and put them in a video unless they have their consent.
Yeah.
Think about TikTok and Shorts, and nowadays you can just for some reason we've just completely forgot about that rule.
Oh,
like that's a law.
Yeah.
Like if someone, I don't want to start something here, but like if you were being recorded in a gym, like a Sam Sulek video, who I love Sam Sulek, right? I think he's a great person. Technically, anyone in those videos can sue him for everything he owns, right?
Yeah.
There's nothing stopping him, but for some reason we just forget about that law, right?
Are you sure that's a law, or did they do like a side law where they said unless it's for social media?
No, it's a
short,
law.
Less than a minute.
The reason that news organizations are allowed to do it is because they have certain protections as news organizations, so that they don't have to do that because I guess reputable accounts. But like that random TikTok fitness influencer that has people's faces in the background, legally you're supposed to blur out all those faces.
faces.
Yeah. If I was to do that, like if my face was in there, I have every right to sue because it's suing your likeness. Someone could take that, put it online.
Right. So back to your point about there being massive amounts of these things loaded every day. Individuals can't individually sue. That's why the burden's put on these people.
I think you do a class action realistically. But.
Yeah, but there's no way you could do that. It's international.
Exactly. That's the gray line.
Right. Yeah. People do it. But That's the difference. So that's when they turn to these guys and say, you guys have to police that. Okay?
Yeah.
You're allowing people to put anything they want on there, but it has to fall within. Then they push back and say, but that's not our responsibility. We're 503, whatever the hell that thing is, or 290, whatever that ruling is. We don't have to do that. We're just like the media. We're just you can't have it both ways. Somebody has to police it, and our judicial system can't spend time with. That would be what, 1 million complaints every day.
Oh, easily. Yeah.
Right. So they turn to the heads, the Twitters and whatnot, and say, you guys have to police that. Oh, and he says, we're taking care of it. We're policing our laws, and we're making sure that they're being. So, again, you can't have it both ways. Somebody's got to do it. And, if you're going to put it on the multi-billionaires, let them figure it out, the geniuses. Or maybe it is they don't want to figure it out. Maybe they're making too much money by just leaving it alone. Yeah.
Yeah, agreed. All right, Mother. Last week was a big week because GTA 6 finally got released. Well, the trailer, not the actual game. So do you remember a couple months ago we talked about that kid that leaked it? Mm-hmm. Right? Turns out those leaks were correct. Oh. So, yeah, that kid, somehow he got the... He actually got the real trailer that he released and all the gameplay and stuff. That was real. But they officially released it, and now everyone's like, okay. The reason I bring this up is because a lot of viewers ask me, like, oh, did you see it? And I'm like, man, it just looks like the one that we already have.
Is this the one that takes place in Miami?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because your building is in it.
Yeah, my mother first hit back. Does she do it? Knocks the microphone. How bad is it? We're fine. Damn it, one of these days I'm going to get your mom one day. But yeah, this is the one that takes, our building is in it. our apartment. Won't say where. But I don't know exactly where, if it's a 1-to-1 model of Miami.
Oh, I don't know.
I really don't know. But yeah, I'm going to be honest with you. Everyone was like, are you excited? Not really. I mean, it looks the same as, Puppet, was that you? That's the tail. It looks just like GTA 5. So it's just a different map. So everyone's so excited for this. One thing that annoys me is the people that like do these reaction videos that get so excited for something to the point where they're like throwing shit. I'm like, guys, it's literally there's nothing that's gonna get me that excited, unless maybe if I won the lottery. That's about it. But yeah, I think it'll have a good story. I think doesn't come out till right. Everyone thought that was gonna come out soon, like February, January. September 2025.
25?
2025, yeah. So we won't get, and it doesn't even come out.
That's over a year.
And it doesn't even come out. It's almost 2 years.
Yeah.
And it doesn't come out to PC until probably 2026. So it's like, okay, great. Like, thanks for telling us that. Yeah. I'm even less excited. So. Yeah. I think it's just going to be the same as the current one.
Oh, first female protagonist. There you go.
Technically, that's not
Lucia.
true. Technically,
but it says
one of the article's wrong. One of the earlier GTAs had a female protagonist, but
do anything to try and get more women to use this damn.
There's a lot of people. I think there's more female gamers now than male.
Could be.
Yeah,
could be.
It's pretty amazing. But yeah, so I'm not that excited for this. But opposite end, we had maybe one of the biggest gaming flops of all time. So Matt Nee bought this game and he was like, oh. So Zombies MMO the day before dropped 75% after a day one patch. That's wild. 75% of their player base. So let me tell you about this, Mom. About 2 years ago, I would say, these guys made this demo that was unbelievable because it was on the new Unreal Engine 5. And Unreal Engine 5, I've shown you videos of Unreal Engine 5, right? Those really hyper-realistic ones. So this was the first game to have it, right? They had this crazy engine. They had these great ideas. Game comes out, and it's just basically dead. Like, there's nothing in it. It's beautiful, like, asset-wise, but the game's really, really bad, right? But what also really kills this is 2 years ago, Unreal Engine 5 was like, whoa, these guys got their hands on it, and then all of a sudden... Now, a lot of games have Unreal Engine 5. Like I've been showing you, those military shooters that are unbelievably realistic. So this was just kind of a huge flop. I won't go into all the details. I just wanted to make you guys aware just in case you were thinking of buying this.
Oh, that guy's right there. His face looks very real. Is that a real person?
That's compared to what we have. That's not a real person. That's a video game.
Yeah, I was going to say that's pretty realistic looking.
Oh, you got to see there's a new one that they announced.
Is that Idris Elba?
Looks like it, right? Yeah. Idris Elba. They just announced a new game by a famous guy named Hideo Kojima, or however you pronounce his name. the face realization's like 10 times better than that.
Oh, wow.
You're like, oh my God, is that a real person? But yeah, we're really getting close to those hyper realistic video games. But also, I'm at the point where I don't think that. Same with GTA 6. I don't think that these games are gonna really do anything too graphically amazing. Like, I think we're just waiting on VR at this point. Once VR is like somewhat realistic and more manageable, that's the next phase.
Well, they better work on the quality of the games then, because they're improving the look of them. If the games are boring, who cares?
Yeah, this one was a huge flop. This is one of those ones that it was like this brand new company that, not to go into all the details, as I said, there's tons of YouTube videos that you guys can see on the whole drama of this. But this was like a new company that just had a bunch of investors. Then they said, we're going to buy everything to get this engine going. And then it comes out and it's just bad.
What does MMO stand for?
Massive, MMO is massive multiplayer online.
Oh.
I believe. Massive. Yeah, massive. And it's not. It's basically like a giant open world, and they just ended up not being. But last thing I wanted to go through was all the Game Award winners.
Oh, we got the winners.
Because we had the Game Awards this last week. Now, I did a video a couple weeks ago. I think it came out last Wednesday on all of the major winners. Mm-hmm. So we're just going to go through this real fast for our gaming viewers. Game of the year, thank God, was not Legend of Zelda. It was Baldur's Gate, which we talked about, which is good. Best game direction was Alan Wake 2. Best adaptation, The Last of Us, which, again, I think is an incredibly overrated game. Everyone talks about that. It's like the HBO. You know the show, right? You watched The Last of Us
with Pedro.
Yeah,
yeah, okay.
Yeah. So that game won, which is wild. Best adaptation, best narrative, Alan Wake 2. Best art direction, Alan Wake 2. Alan Wake 2 won a lot of things, and it came out like just 3 weeks ago. Like, it's amazing how like the turnaround
right
on
under
that.
the wire.
I wanted Lies of P to win something because that's that Pinocchio game I told you about. Right. That did really well. Yep. It really bothers me that it wasn't up for Game of the Year, but I went into a whole spiel on that in the video, so you guys can go watch that if you haven't seen it. Best score of music, Final Fantasy. What is that? 16? 16? Yeah. Best audio design was Hi-Fi Rush, which was actually pretty good. I do agree with that. Best performance was Neil Newborn from Baldur's Gate 3. Innovation in accessibility was Forza. Games for Impact was Tichia. Best ongoing game, Cyberpunk 2077. There's so many video games right now videos out there. So we talked about Cyberpunk. Remember that was that big one that flopped and then they turned it around and now it's like a really good game. Unheard of to do that. Like no games ever really had a comeback like that. So props to them. Definitely CD Projekt Red really did a great job. Best community support was Baldur's Gate 3. Best independent game was, or indie game, was Sea of Stars, which was a very good game, but I got really bored of it about 30 hours in, so not worth it. Best debut indie game was Cocoon, which I thought was okay. It's a good game, kind of short. Best mobile game was Honkai. I don't know.
Honkai.
Yeah, Honkai Star Rail. I don't play, as you guys know, I don't play mobile games. Best VR AR was Resident Evil Village. Makes sense, but I don't want to have a heart attack when I'm playing a video game, so I won't do that. Best action game was Armored Core. Jesse, if you're watching, that's a good one.
Oh, yeah, okay, no.
No, yeah, I'm good. Best action adventure was Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom.
Gotta get Zelda in there.
It's not bad in comparison to what's up there, so I'll accept that. Baldur's Gate was best RPG. Best fighting game was Street Fighter 6. Best family game, Super Mario Bros. Wonder. I haven't touched my Switch in like 2 years, so don't know if it was good or not, but I'll take your word for it. Best strategy, sim/strategy game was Pikmin 4. Best sports/racing was Forza. Best multiplayer presented by Discord was Baldur's Gate. Player's Voice, Baldur's Gate. Best most anticipated game. Now, this one was kind of interesting because I thought that maybe Star Wars or Hades would win. The new Final Fantasy Rebirth is it's Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is coming out. It's kind of weird when a game that came out 10 plus years ago gets remastered and it wins most anticipated game.
Well, I was going to say, are these all games that just came out this year?
Yeah, these come out soon. So, content creator of the year, I don't know any of these guys, but Iron Mouse. Best esports game, Valorant. Best esports athlete was Faker. Best esports team was JD Gaming. Best esports coach, Christine Potter Chai. again, sorry guys, I don't know these. Best esports event was the 2023 League of Legends World Championship, which we actually watched. That's the game that Dad was like, hey, have you ever heard of this game?
Oh.
So we watched some of that, and I was actually, again, I'm not big into League of Legends, but that was actually really interesting to watch. It's a whole different game than the professionals play. So, but yeah, so that's all the winners, and that's pretty much all we have. But real fast before we end, Mother, we got to talk about the future plans because I was looking at the schedule. So let me give you, I'm going to go into greater detail in a video coming up just because you guys deserve to know like what's kind of going on in the next couple of weeks. So I'm moving January 1st.
Or thereabouts.
Yeah, definitely close to that. I think we have enough time for one more weekly podcast in the sense of, I think next Sunday when I get back, because I have my trip. Ideally, it sounds like that one's pretty set in stone. So I won't be here for this week. This will come out before I'm on a flight. You guys will probably be watching this while I'm on a plane. I come back either Thursday or Friday, so we can do one more Sunday. That week, be here. You won't be here. So what about Saturday? Are you here Saturday? Shit. So I would say next week I'll keep the same schedule for streaming at least. Like I think I'm done with videos for the year. I'm going to be honest. Besides the podcast, there's not much left to record. So I think it's just going to be the Twitch clips. For the rest of December, I'm pretty much going to take off on videos, except for the Twitch clips videos, as I might have just said. I want to backlog some podcasts, so maybe that week we'll just do some podcasts like Mr. G. That's when I plan on getting everyone in. I know it's close to Christmas, but I hope we can get.
Listen, I can't answer any questions without the calendar in front of me. If you're trying to get me in there, but
where's the calendar?
Oh, we're doing this online. Okay.
Just because that way everyone knows I don't have to do like a whole.
I can tell you, I'm not here next weekend.
You're not here next weekend.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is December.
Yeah.
So I'll be back
the 19th, 20th, 21st.
Okay. So then next week, because I can do earlier podcasts before stream. But
Happy Hanukkah to our Jewish friends.
Yeah, happy Hanukkah. So the 10th, the 11th, 12th, 13th. So I'm not back till probably the 14th. This comes out the 11th. 16. So, and then you're not here the 17th.
Not here the 15th, 16th, 17th, or possibly I might be able to do the evening of the 18th. Depends on the timing. The 18th on a Monday,
but I have the stream, so.
Yeah, I wouldn't count that anyhow because I have to get to the airport.
January, I don't think I'll be able to start posting videos again until probably like Wednesday the 3rd. Like this whole week, guys, so the Christmas week, basically, into New Year's.
Wednesday the 3rd? Are you kidding me? You have to move on maybe the 1st, right? Set everything up on the 2nd and be able to do videos by the 3rd. Okay.
That's a good point. Yeah, I don't think so. I'll have to take. So I think the last time you guys will see me will probably be the 29th. We have Christmas, Kwanzaa. The beauty of this year is we're not traveling.
Yeah.
First Christmas. So I think I can do the 27th, 28th. The 29th is oh no, because then I'll be packed.
Well, I mean, I'll be around that week, Christmas week.
Right.
I'm not doing
so I'm debating, could we do the like, I think I'm done streaming and videos at the 22nd. Like, I think at that point, all this will be packed up. Then I can backlog podcasts using this computer, store it onto a hard drive.
Honestly, I don't think you have to. This stuff, you don't have to pack that up that early. You could do most of the stuff, like the tables. Yeah, but you don't need this to do your streaming and stuff.
No, but I'm saying, should we keep the podcast stuff here? Do the podcast, backlog them. Do you know how long it would
take to break this down? About 5 minutes.
Yeah, you're right, but it's like, knowing Dad, he's going to want to have everything done like 2 days before.
He won't have a car till the day before. He's not getting the car early. You can't put anything in a car.
So
other than your car.
So my idea is the 22nd, we're probably going to end. That'll be like my last stream, because after Christmas, so after Christmas is when I'll start. Yeah. So that's what I'll do. 22nd is when I finish, Mom. After Christmas.
Keep taking all my pens.
Don't blame me. After Christmas, this is when we'll start backlogging podcasts.
All right. Well, I mean, I have to set up for my Kwanzaa party on the 26th.
Your Kwanzaa party? Oh, okay. Since when are we Jewish?
No, Kwanzaa's African.
Kwanzaa.
No, kidding. So the 26th, okay.
26, 27, 28, 29. I think we could do, like, realistically, I'd like to backlog at least 4.
Well, I think you could do whatever you need to do up until the 29th. Maybe the 30th you should take New Year's Eve to break down, assuming you have everything else broken down and put away, like bedroom stuff, clothes and stuff. Yeah. You could do this room in a day.
Yeah. So then talking about the future, after when I'm gone, what are we going to do? So should I keep like a microphone here for you for if you want to do
whatever you
your
want.
own, or do you want a Christmas present to be a microphone?
I don't know who you're going to be
realistically,
down there.
I think I'm going to be doing Discord podcasts with the guys for a little bit until we can set up. I might set up the podcast stuff at the office, to be honest with you, which might be a good idea.
Okay.
Do it that way.
Well, wherever you set up doesn't matter. It just means you got to take time to do it. And remember, you're working when you get down there, so you might not have your days free to do things. You might be busy at the office.
Right. That's why I'm saying it's probably
able to
easier.
do stuff at night.
Yeah. So
I don't know the schedule, and you could leave your stuff, whatever you don't need, because odds are you're going to be coming back. I would think fairly soon to Princeton, back here, even if it's just for a few days, and you can take other stuff with you if it's in a bag. And stuff.
Yeah, we might have to do it in parts, but I don't know when I'm going to be back, realistically. Like, let's be honest. My boss might not
right away.
Yeah,
but
so I think I'm going to be there for at least a month before I come back, probably.
Okay.
And then we'll figure that out. I'll probably do some Discord podcasts with the guys.
Okay.
I'll probably backlog. When does Michael come home?
From college, sometime this week.
Okay, so then, because we should backlog 1 or 2 with him and Kenny. I'd like to do one with Dad at some point, but Dad keeps going, no, you don't need me to do the podcast. I'd like to get one in before.
He's very shy.
Yeah, Dad's very shy, which is hilarious because he has to do presentations in front of thousands of people. But okay, so I guess
but nobody's paying attention and it's not recorded.
Yeah, that's a good point.
No kidding.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to, I was thinking maybe like Super Bowl, I'd like to do one, me, Kenny, and Dad, when we watch it together on here.
Well, you want one with Mr. G.
Mr. G, yeah. Like, I think I'm going to end up backlogging a lot of podcasts. Like, I might be able to get at least a month of podcasts in. And then I think realistically it's time I separate the 2 channels. Okay. I'm going to have to move everything. So that's going to be a bitch in itself. I'm going to ask Mr. G
if he wants to do one before he leaves.
When does he leave?
Before you leave.
Yeah. Well, we have to.
I don't know if
I'd
he
rather
does
do that one in
vacation.
person than...
I'd have to ask. Well, you'd have to ask.
I'd have to do all my conspiracy research beforehand.
Just let him tell you the whole conspiracy thing. He knows.
He's gonna be like, "Where do you want to start?"
Yeah, just ask about the pyramids. He could do 2 hours on the pyramids.
I'm trying to think, and then I'd like to do one with AJ.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, figure that one out. Maybe his sister, if she wants to do it.
Well, you've got plenty of time. You could do one a day.
It feels like it, but it doesn't seem like it because, there's still other things that we have to get done. And as I said, I'm losing a week traveling. So,
well, I mean, you have to get all these other ones done while you're here.
Yeah.
There's plenty of time.
Because realistically, guys, before I leave, I'm only here for a week.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's not true. You have next week. Well,
Christmas
you're only
week
gone a couple weeks, but no, Christmas week we're not doing anything.
We say that, but yeah.
No,
I guess we have some. I'd like to do.
You're doing something on the 25th, but you're back that evening, and then the rest of the week we have nothing.
Yeah,
planned.
I guess that's true. So I guess we have a week and a half.
Mm-hmm.
So this week I'm not here, as I said. This week we can stream and do a normal schedule. This week, the problem is I have to think of everyone else's schedule too. Is Mr. Greta free?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. You have some free weeks that either they can do it or they can't. And they can do it on the weekend too.
Yeah, I'd rather do it on the weekend. But so the 22nd is probably when I'll stop posting any videos, realistically. And then, Okay. So I think we have a rough schedule. We have a rough schedule. We'll talk about some more. I'll do an update video beforehand.
It takes one snowstorm to say we can't get out on January 1st. You can't leave till the 2nd.
Exactly, yeah.
Like that goes on.
So, all right. We have a rough schedule. I'm okay with that. But besides that, the only things that I have to promote today I have to post. What's today? Today's
Sunday, the 10th.
Oh,
no.
God, I have to post a video. I have to post one of the... God damn it. Okay, anyway. So the only things that I have to promote, I haven't posted much, but I just posted a Xbox Roulette video on Friday, so go check that out. as well as I'm going to start posting the speed runs from November. We aren't going to do any speed run practice until January. Well, actually, no, probably February, because we're going to do Dark Souls next, the last Dark Souls. We got one more, Mom. One more, and then I would have platinumed every single... That's like a feat that very few people have done, Mother. You don't understand.
Do you get a badge or something?
I get a big badge from Steam.
Nice.
So I could definitely put that one in the record books. That's a big one. So even though Dark Souls 3 is probably the most tedious out of all of them.
Frame your certificate, put it in the
That's
background.
yeah. I'm printing that. From Software is going to have to send me something,
Definitely.
So, yeah, I'll do that. We'll post the Evil Within speedruns. I think Dark Souls, by the time this comes out, Dead Space 2 will come out. So we'll do that one. And then, yeah, we'll just continue posting those until the end of the year. Those I can post pretty easily because those are already pretty much edited. But new videos were done. So go check out everything. Social media down below, promo codes down below, Discord down below, other stream links down below. I'm sure you'll see Mom before the end of the year at some point because we'll backlog some videos.
Lucky you guys.
Yeah. Just keep an eye out.
Like grown.
Let me just put it this way, guys. Realistically, the schedule is just not going to be the same as it normally is. As you guys have probably noticed, and again, I'll explain this in the video. I haven't been as consistent with videos in the last month because of all the traveling plans and work stuff. So yeah, we'll do a full breakdown in a week probably. So we'll end it there. As I said, promoted everything. We will see you guys in the next one, and I'll see you at stream. So